Angelo Acerbi, Fresh Film Radio from the Torino Film Festival. Very happy to be here with Rosario Dawson. Good morning.
Good morning.
You were the recipient of one of the Stella della Mole Award yesterday night, and you're here to introduce the movie Kids Better Clock, which was your first film, right? 1995, if I'm right.
Yeah, we shot it 30 years ago this summer in 94, and it came out in 95.
It's not five. So which are the memories that you still get from that? Because being the first should be like very kind of...
Yeah. No, it's almost like it was yesterday, honestly. There's so many memories that I have because I only filmed on it 4 days. And we had a few days of rehearsal, but I got discovered on my stoop into it. So I first met Larry and Harmony and the DP and a bunch of the crew as they were scouting for locations in my neighborhood. And, I'll just never forget my dad taking me to my audition on his bicycle. He took his shirt off on his bicycle and put it onto the thing so I could sit on the bar, and pedaling me out to Broadway, and Larry leaning out going, "Oh, is that your boyfriend?" Me go, "No, that's my dad." "Who are you?" And seeing that was kind of a window into a lot of their whole perspective, I was like, okay. But I was very grateful that, especially still looking back on it today, because it's so intense of a film, that I'm just so grateful that my parents knew who I was and trusted me enough to decide to be a part of that film. Because it transformed my life.
I can imagine. But was it in your mind to become an actress, or was just from that moment on that you decided that it could have been a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I had liked performing. I always thought I loved singing and dancing as a kid, but I grew up around a bunch of starving artists. So for me, the idea of going into the arts was like a terrible idea. I wanted to go into mathematics or science or engineering or biology. Like there were a lot of other interests that I had. And I was gearing up to be the first one in my family to go to college. And then on my senior year of high school, I ended up getting He Got Game with Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of keeps going from there. I've got an agent now, and then I get a manager, and then I end up moving to LA, and it just took over my whole life. It was so profound. It took me around the world. Actually, my first festival was in Venice when I was, I think, 19. It was one of my first world trips.
So you entered the mechanism of show business, and that's
everything. I just got obsessed, and I honestly kept telling myself for many years, I'll end up going to college and getting a real job at some point, because these Juilliard kids are coming, and there's no way that this girl who got picked off the street is going to keep doing this. But 30 years later,
but it is a real job, right?
Yeah, this is a real job.
This is a real job, very demanding.
But for me, especially in the beginning years, because it was the way that it came to me, it just was this beautiful, fun experience. Like I remember just lapping up these experiences and just being ridiculous in my list. I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do it, I want to work with all the greats of, independent film, and I want to work with all the great filmmakers. And so I just made these lists. It was Oliver Stone and Quentin Tarantino and, Spike Lee and, Robert Rodriguez and all the people who were making films at that time. And I worked with every single one of them. And I couldn't believe that I was putting this out into the universe and it was happening. And I just kept waiting for at some point to not be able to keep working, because I was told so often, especially for how women are treated in the industry, and what's capable and age and just so many different things. And, I'm 45 now, and I've got the biggest job of my life. And I'm just so grateful that, despite all of these warnings and things to try to dissuade me from pursuing this as far and as long as I have, I'm so grateful for my opportunities. And there has been times where I've hit walls where like the materials coming in were not what I wanted, and I pivoted. I've worked a lot in the philanthropic space. I have organizations I've created, a fashion line. I produce a lot. So for me, I always just maneuvered. If the industry wasn't offering me what I wanted to grab, I just maneuvered because I have so many interests, because I didn't have this idea of success that I expected. I've always thought that at some point the door would be shut. So for me,
you needed to find
all these years,
B.
I've just been feeling like I snuck in, and like I'm just playing, and and so now it finally feels real, but it took like 30 years.
Well, there's something very interesting in your filmography if we go through it, because it's very different. So you varied a lot. You changed style, kind of, and I mean, genres. Was it a purpose, or was it just because the first good thing coming to you? It was okay for you to do it.
No, it was a lot of that. It was, and that's what I was meaning. Like a lot of times you would start to get typecast. And for me, it was like, I've already played that. And then if I keep playing that, then people think that's the only thing I can do. And I don't, that's not what I'm going for. Like I'm just, again, because I think at some point I won't be able to work at all. I want to do things that I really love, that really move me. And I had a lot of interests. So even things like my uncle's a comic book artist. And I remember when Frank Miller's Sin City was being sent around, and I had to audition for it. And I was so excited because I knew exactly who Frank Miller was, and my team and the studios and people didn't really fully get what it was. And I was like, no, this is it. And
but that was a strange project.
It's a totally strange project for a lot of people. And, for me, I just feel so grateful that I have so many varied interests myself. And I came from New York. I was very just sort of disconnected from the industry so much and the Hollywoodness of it all. I just was still just exploring the cinema of it all. I loved the filmmaking. Like I loved, being able to sit at the, as a student in front of people like an Oliver or a Spike, who were so rigorous and so detailed and specific and incredibly talented. And so it's just, for me, it was that work of it, that energy of it, that possibility, that magic, that imagination, that creativity, that power. They had so much power in their own vision that they were putting out into the world, how they were affecting culture. And I took it, that's what I was taking seriously, not necessarily the glamour, Hollywood and being a starlet, any of that kind of stuff. I was actually quite afraid of being a part of too much of that partying kind of aspect because of how I started. Being a young 15-year-old in New York, I thought people would think that I was just, again, a fluke, like it wasn't a real thing. I wasn't taking it seriously. And for me, it was very, very serious. And especially to throw away my dreams of going to college and taking care of my family. And so the fact that I've been able, through my art and through my passion, be able to take care of my family has just been the most remarkable thing to me. I grew up around a lot of artists in my family who had to have other jobs. That's what I knew about the arts, that this is not something you can survive off of. It's something you do just because you love. And to be able to do what I love in public this broadly and bigly is something I'll always cherish and be so grateful for.
Well, we are very happy that you made it. And we are looking forward to your next film that I'm not asking because I don't want to know. So thanks a lot for Rosario Dawson for having been with us. I'm Angelo Acerbi for Fred, the Festival Insider.